And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now that we know how to set up a project, let's actually start something up, shall we? I've created a Maya Essentials training project, which you can follow along with. So if I just mosey on that project file onto my screen, you would see this is the project that you will have access to. Inside here is a folder called Source Images. This folder is where you put in any images you're going to be using within any set given project. So in my case, I have created a section 3 part 4 folder, and inside this folder you've got a selection of 5 different droids. I'm going to choose one to demonstrate what I would like you guys to do. Then you can choose from the remaining 4 as part of the activity for this section of the Maya Essentials training. In my case, I'm going to be choosing this guy here with the 3 little triangles on his face, and I'm going to be attempting to recreate it just using primitives within Maya. Now, it's going to be kind of a headache if I need to Alt-Tab between this window and Maya to look at my reference. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the reference into Maya. As I've told you before, we need to go and set our project as we always do. So we're going to go File, Set Project. I'm going to make sure I'm inside my Maya Essentials. Click Set. And then in my case, I would like to open up a scene. Open scene. I am going to open up a section called Section 3 Part 4. I'm double clicking that bad boy. Yes, it was created in a student version. That is fine. Now I can start working on my droid here. So for you guys, you're going to go, and after you've created all this, you need to save your droid with the file name activity3 so that I can review your model as well as give you a mark for this activity. So now to get this source image in here, so I'm going to go jump into my orthographic views. I would like either the front or side camera. The top view is not going to be beneficial to the angle at which that reference image is at for me. So I'm going to just choose side. I'm going to tap spacebar again to maximize this guy. Then I'm going to go to File, Image Plane, and say Import Image, which will open up my source images. I'm going to navigate to section 3 part 4. I'm going to pick the droid that I selected with the 3 little triangles on his face and click open, and now you can see it's inside Maya. So if I just tap spacebar again, you can see inside my perspective view we've got our droid. One thing that you need to know in Maya is you do not model below the grid, because that's going to put your model into the negative region, which down the pipeline will cause problems when it comes to simulation and rigging and all that stuff. So I want to move my reference image up above the grid. So I'm just going to go marquee select on it, press W for move. Let's make my gizmo a tad smaller. And using my side view here and my perspective, I'm going to move my robot, say, just above the grid, as well as I want to move it out of the way. So I'm going to move it, say, here, so it is out of the way where I'm going to be modeling. I'm just tapping spacebar so that I have now my viewport open to me. Now I can assume this is a small little droid because it looks like a little scouter droid. So I'm going to say it's like 1/2 meter tall. It's about 50 centimeters tall. To make sure my reference image is the same size to what I would like to model at, I'm going to go create a cube by clicking this little cube primitive. And as you can recall, we edit it, the default settings, these cubes come in. So I'm just going to go press Z to undo that. I'm going to go create Polygon primitives, cube, and then options. And I'm just going to go edit and reset my settings and then click create. Now I've got a cube here that's 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. I would like to make it 50 centimeters cubed. So it's 50 centimeters in either direction. So I'm going to go and change my workspace to classic so that I have access to my channel box. In here, I'm going to go and change it inside its inputs. Now, as you can see, I've got a width, height, and depth. So in here, I'm going to go 50 by 50 by 50. And as you can see, that makes a very big cube. So again, move my cube above my grid. So let's go and find that inside of my side view. Move it here. So now I got a relative size that I could work with. So just one more thing, I need to also just grab my reference image, just move it out shimmy it out of the way there, and then maximize that. Now I need to scale up my droid guy so that its height matches 50. So I'm going to press R for scale this guy up, just make sure its little footsies is above the grid, like so, and then I can see I need a little bit more scale. And as you can see, I'm using the center of the scale gizmo so it scales uniformly, because I do not want to squish it by accident or stretch it out by accident. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller and then just drop it down a tad. Cool. Now I can get rid of this cube because I just used it as reference. Delete. Now I would like to move my image more out of the way because I can see this droid is going to land up being quite big. The next thing I would like to do is I don't want to be able to select my image by accident. So I'm going to be using a display layer to lock this image so that I can see it but not be able to select it. Inside my displays tab, I'm going to click the little button far right, which basically creates a new layer with the object that I have selected placed inside the layer. If I click the little plus one, it just creates an empty layer. So for example, let me show you. I click this, it creates a layer, but if I click the little V for visibility, my droid does not go away. So I'm just going to go undo that layer by pressing Z. With my reference image selected, I'm going to click the one with the sphere on top. Now if I press the V, you'll see the image plane turns on and off. Next thing I'd like to do is change the way this layer displays. As you can see, there are 3 different options that are tick boxes that I can use here. The first one's visibility. Now the next one is the display type. So if I press T, it's set to template, which if it was a mesh will show me the wireframe. Now if I press it one more time, it's set to R for reference. Now if I click away, you can see I can marquee select and this image is no longer selectable. The next thing, just for cleanliness in my scene, is rename your layers and stick to a naming convention. So I'm going to double click it and I'm going to go rename this guy to image_L for layer and click save. And then I can go back to my workspace, which is modeling standard, which it gives me what I need. Another thing I can do is I can change my grid size to match up with the scale at which I'm going to be modeling at. So I'm going to go inside my display, grid, and then grid options, and as you can currently see, my width is 12 units. That refers to from my center point to the outermost line, so it's 12 units in length. So my grid from end to end is 24 units in length. So I need my guy to be 50. So 50 divided by 2 is 25. So I'm going to go 25 units, click apply. You'll see my grid gets bigger. And then I'm going to go grid lines every 5 units. So every 5 centimeters, there's a grid line. And then subdivisions, I do not want to add subdivisions. So if I go 0 and click apply, you'll see my blocks become very big because now there's only a grid line every 5 centimeters. If I go grid line every 1 centimeter and click apply, we are back to that very dense grid line and we can use it for snapping and all that good stuff later on. But now I'm not too concerned about the grid being useful in the sense of snapping to it. I would rather to have my grid lines there, say every 5, click apply, and it's just for me to have a floor to place my character on. Now you can also go and change the way your grid lines look on your grid. So the main axes, for example, I can go change that to like a light gray, and now they are a light gray. And if I want to go grid lines every X number of units, I can go and change them to like a very dark gray. Doesn't look changed much, so let's go crazy here and change them like that. So you can change the way your grid looks as well. So in my case, I'm just going to leave it at that dark gray, and then maybe my center axes I'm going to leave black so that I know where my origin is. Now these changes in the way my grid displays affect all my other viewports. As you can see, there's a line every 5 units, as well as the color choices I've made. I'm going to close this guy and go back in here. So with my scene set up, I'm going to end the lesson off here, and in the next lesson I'm going to actually start blocking out this droid using primitives provided to me in Maya. So catch you in the next lesson.